All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT practice question series where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. Timmy needs to find out what toys are most motivating for a young client who gets bored quickly. Timmy arranges 5 toys on the table. Each time the client selects one, Timmy lets them play with it briefly, then removes it from the options before asking them to pick again from the remaining toys. This continues until no toys are left. What type of preference assessment is being conducted? So starting with the preference assessment question, and it's very straightforward. Now, when you're attacking a preference assessment question, the first most important thing is how many items are we assessing? If it's 1, it's typically single stimulus. If it's 2, it's typically paired or forced choice. And if it's 3 or more, it's typically multiple stimulus or some sort of free operant. Now in this case, Timmy is looking at 5 toys. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 toys on the table, and he lets the child pick or select one and then let them play with it briefly. So Timmy's assessing all 5 at once. Immediately, we can eliminate single stimulus and paired stimulus because it's more than 2 and more than 1. So now we just have to ask ourselves, is there a replacement of items or is there not? Well, Timmy lets them play with it briefly, then removes it from the options before asking them to pick again. In other words, if they pick 2, we would have 3, 4, 1, 5. There is no replacement, so this is multiple stimulus without replacement. Preference assessment questions are very straightforward once you determine how many items are being assessed. A teen learns at a summer job to clock in using a time card. Months later, they still clock in correctly at the same job, even though no supervisor reminds them each day. What is this an example of? So let's think about this. We have a teen who is clocking in using a time card. Okay. Months later, so a lot of time has passed, they're still engaging in the proper behavior, even though they're not getting reminded. So essentially, they were taught to clock in. Months later, they're still clocking in without reminders, without the teaching. What is that an example of? Well, when you see a situation where a skill was taught, and then the prompting and the teaching is removed, and then time passes and the skill continues, we typically think of that as maintenance. Now, why isn't it a generalization? Generalization would be if the teen learned to clock in at the summer job and then got a different job and could still clock in. As far as we know, it's the same job, same summer job, same situation. Not really generalizing, but the teen is maintaining their ability to clock in. They're not prompt dependent because they don't need that reminder. They don't need the prompt to engage in the right behavior. And response blocking, of course, is not happening. No one is blocking the teen from the correct response. This is an example of B, maintenance. A behavior technician is asked to monitor whether a client remains engaged during a 30-minute small group activity. The technician divides the time into 1-minute intervals and marks an interval yes only if the client stays engaged with the activity for the entire 1 minute. If the client stops participating and looks away at any point, the interval is marked no. Which measurement method is this? So we've been talking a lot about this measurement type lately, and we are first going to determine in a question like this, well, what type of measurement are we using? Is it continuous? Is it discontinuous? Is it permanent product? Well, in this case, the technician is looking at a 30-minute small group activity, and they divide the time into 1-minute intervals. So as soon as we see that, we think discontinuous because we've broken it up into these intervals of time. Now, so let's say we have a 1-minute interval. Now, if the client stays engaged with the activity for the entire 1 minute, so the whole 1 minute, it's a yes. If the client stops participating and looks away at any point, the interval is marked no. If we were to look at a partial interval, let's say, the client would only need to be engaged for part of the time, right? If we were looking at momentary, it would be at the end or the last moment of the interval. But with whole, it's the entire time. So if you look at A, paired interval recording, well, paired interval recording is not even one of your terms. So this is where fluency pays off. If on the test you see paired interval recording, don't panic and think you've missed something. Trust your preparation and understand, well, that's not even an option. B, permanent product recording. Well, we already ruled out permanent product recording because we said this was a discontinuous measurement using intervals. C, momentary time sampling. Momentary time sampling would be at the end of our interval. So this has to be D, whole interval recording. It has to happen the whole 1 minute or the entire 1 minute to be counted as a response. Lane frequently avoids doing their homework by complaining of a stomach ache. When Lane complains, their mom usually allows them to skip homework for the night. To address this, the mom begins requiring Lane to complete 5 minutes of homework regardless of their complaints, then allows a short break, gradually increasing the homework time. This intervention is an example of what? So let's think about this. We have a situation where Lane is avoiding their homework by complaining of a stomach ache. When Lane complains, mom allows them to skip homework for the night. To address this, so to intervene, mom lets Lane or requires Lane to complete 5 minutes of homework regardless of the complaints, then allows a short break, gradually increasing their homework time. Now, let's start here. Do we know how the behavior has changed? We don't. We know at first when Lane was allowed to escape, they would continue complaints. Ever since this intervention has begun, it doesn't tell us how the behavior has changed. So we don't really know if it's punishment or reinforcement. What we do know is mom is no longer providing reinforcement for the complaints. She's now withholding reinforcement for the complaints. So when we withhold reinforcement for complaints, what do we call that? Well, we call that extinction. So the question becomes, is this escape extinction or tangible extinction? Well, since Lane was getting out of doing their homework, avoiding their homework, and now they are no longer escaping or avoiding, it's going to be escape extinction. Escape is a type of negative reinforcement, but the intervention is not allowing for, or we don't know yet whether or not that short break is still functioning as reinforcement. We do, however, know the mom is using extinction on Lane and no longer providing reinforcement for complaining. A gym wants to increase attendance at its morning fitness classes. They offer a free protein shake to everyone who attends the class before 8 a.m., which increases attendance by 20%. This intervention is an example of what? So unlike the last question where we don't know how the behavior changed, here the goal was to increase attendance. The question says attendance was increased by 20%. That attendance increased. And when something increases, we're looking at reinforcement. Reinforcement increases. So these free protein shakes, if you attend a class, you get the protein shake, which increases your behavior, is some sort of reinforcement. And since you're adding the protein shake, you're getting the protein shake, that's going to be positive reinforcement. Consequences are all about how is the behavior changing? Unless it's extinction, where, unlike the last question, we were withholding the reinforcement. So we know we are attempting extinction, and hopefully that behavior will change. Here, we're adding something that's increasing behavior, and it's adding, so it's positive. It's increased, so it's reinforcement. So this intervention is an example of positive reinforcement. Thanks for watching. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout-out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.